we describe, we describe a six-stage system that we see the best performing organizations consistently using to drive success in the strategy. Now, I'll cover some of these, but we have only short amount of time. But first, you have to have a strategy. You have to have a vision and a strategy. But then that's not enough. The idea that we do a lot of planning and not much delivery is we have to solve that problem. First, we have to translate the strategy into measurable objectives and measures. That's the strategy map in the balanced scorecard. And fund projects that will help us achieve the performance on our strategic measures. We have to align the organization, various departments and agencies within the ministry, and align the people, align the employees, so the employees have a clear line of sight for how their day-to-day actions helps the ministry achieve its objectives. Drive it down to operations, so each individual, each department, each team has key local performance measures that they're working to improve, the kind of operational dashboards. And then the feedback loops to make sure we have to meet monthly or quarterly and review the data about our strategy. Where is it working? Where is it not working? If we're implementing the same strategy across 34 regions of the country, which regions are outperforming and which are underperforming? How do we transfer the knowledge? How do we enhance the learning across our diverse country? And then perhaps annually, we should sit back and review and see whether this strategy is still working and is the one we want to have working. So during the year, when we meet monthly or quarterly, we assume the strategy we articulated is the right strategy, and we're trying to learn how to implement it better. Once a year, we should sit back and reflect, is this still the right strategy? Should we continue to do this for another year? 2 years ago, I was visiting in the GCC region. We do a lot of work, and Palladium and I, having in Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi and Dubai and Qatar. It was my first visit to Oman. And I visited the head of planning for the Oman government. And I gave some talk similar to this. And I said, well, what do you think? He said, well, this is a good idea, but we're in the middle of a 5-year plan, and maybe we'll use this for the next 5-year plan. This seems like a good thing to do as we do the next 5-year plan. So I says, well, where are you? He says, well, we're in year 3. Yeah. I said, okay. How's it working? Well, it's not working so good. I said, I have this innovative idea for you. Yeah, what's that? Why don't you declare the end of this 5-year plan in year 3 and start a new 5-year plan next year? Why go 2 more years with a failing 5-year plan before you update to a new 5-year plan? He said, oh, no, we can't do that. You know, we have 5-year plans. Well, if you had a 5-year plan, it was set when the price of oil was $100 a barrel, and now it's $30 a barrel. That might be a big enough difference to think whether the assumptions you had when you had one energy price is still valid when the energy price has dropped by 1/3. Or if you assume 3 or 4% global growth, but all we're seeing is a 0.5% or 1%, then some of the assumptions you made when you had your 5-year plan may not be valid. So why go 2 more years based on invalid assumptions and plans? So the purpose of Stage 6 is once a year we should reflect whether this still seems like a good strategy for us to be following. And then based on that, we can update the strategy and update our set of objectives and measures and initiatives based on that annual reflection. So this is the system. If we had all day, I could take you slowly through this, or at least slower than I can. But this approach has really been implemented by hundreds of organizations around the world. And this is a slide of what we call the Balanced Scorecard Hall of Fame, of which there's only 2 criteria. One is all these organizations use the Balanced Scorecard the way Dave Norton and I have advocated. Two, it has helped them deliver breakthroughs in performance. And up here in this high northeast quadrant are all government organizations in Korea, in Abu Dhabi, around the world that have been implementing this approach. And actually just beneath it over here, not highlighted, are cities, municipalities around the world that have used this approach for breakthrough performance. And that's how we learn this approach. We study all these organizations to come up with this model. What I'm teaching you here is not something I thought sitting in my office at the Harvard Business School. Right? I'm not that smart. What we do is see where innovation is occurring around the world, and we study it, and we learn from it, and then we create the frameworks so that other people can learn from the best practices that we found in these organizations. And just one example of an organization that 4 years ago went into the Balanced Scorecard Hall of Fame was a province in the southwest of South Korea. Okay. And we know South Korea has had an economic miracle over the last 40 years. From 1966 to 2006, the average, the GDP per capita has gone up by a factor of 10. Incredible, incredible performance. But this province was the one that was left behind. Samsung and Hyundai, they're up in the north and the northeast. This is in the southwest corner of the country. And as you see here, their population had decreased, and they had the lowest performance of all 16 provinces in Korea, in output, in income per capita, in new job creation, and still relying primarily on extractive industries and agriculture. Very little in value-added industries. In 2006, interestingly, it's a democracy, they had elections. 2006, a Korea civil servant, Mr. Won-ju Kim, runs for governor, and maybe he went to the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. He's a very enlightened civil servant, and he ran. He said, "Vote for me. I'm going to make a difference in the country. In the region. I'm going to make this a higher performing region." And he won. Now, he did something very unusual for a politician. He actually decided to deliver on his campaign promise. And his campaign promise was about performance. We're going to improve the performance of this province. And he uses as his management tool the balanced scorecard. So every ministry is going to have a balanced scorecard of performance measures. And we're going to be accountable for delivering those services and that performance to the citizens of this region. Now, the civil servants who had long-term careers in the bureaucracy did not all think this was the best idea they ever heard of. They had grown comfortable in their civil service jobs in the bureaucracy of this province. In fact, they told the new governor, he says, "You don't understand what happens here." He says, "We want jobs, but not work." That was their motto. He said, "No, it's not acceptable to me. You're going to have to work, and you're going to have to be accountable for delivering performance." This is where leadership comes in. This would not have worked without his commitment to override the resistance of the labor unions and the bureaucracy who did not want to be accountable for performance. 4 years later, he gets reelected. Why does he get reelected? Every single economic and social indicator has turned up. For the first time in 45 years, the population is increasing. Among the 16 provinces, it has the fastest compounded growth rate in regional domestic product, double the national average. It has the fastest growth rate in exports of the 16 provinces. A shift from primary industry to value-added industries. Businesses are coming in and forming in this province. Tourism is up. Shipments of products is up. This is interesting. What's different in 2010 from 2006? Did some group of hard-working aliens suddenly show up and transform the economy of this region? No, it's the same people. Same people, same geography, same boundaries, rivers, mountains, ports. Mostly the same companies. Few new ones. What's different? What's different in 2010 from 2006? One person. New governor. With a vision and a management system for putting the vision into action. So even in a sector that is as hard to change and turn around as the public sector, leadership and powerful management tools can make a difference.